great gathering for a great human being, right? So I wrote down my remarks because I didn't want to deviate into inappropriate stories, and I didn't want to break the 3-minute rule. Anyway, I've known Dan for 43 of his 47 years in the fire service, and about a third of that we worked together on the Arrowhead Hotshot crew from 1981 to 1995. Yay! There we go. We've been the best of friends for most of that. He's the second in line in my living will to pull the plug if need be. I hired him on as an AD in 1981, the last half of the crew, to fill out the crew after some folks went to work or went back to school. And when I left in 1995, he took over the crew as a superintendent in 1996. Somewhere in the middle of all that, a lot of stuff happened. And I think what probably cemented a lifelong friendship was one time we took a trip to Mexico. We got dropped off at Mexicali and we had a ticket dated 1 month later back home from Cancun, and nothing in between. Somehow we made it there and back without getting killed or caught. There were a couple close calls, but we made it home. We were in each other's wedding, 3 weeks apart. His first. My only so far. We made jokes towards the end of our time on the crew that we spent more nights together than we did with our wife. So, well, technically Dan always worked for me somewhere on the crew org chart. I think, well, I'm sure that I learned more from him than he learned from me. First, always fill the alcohol in your cocktail above the ice before you add any mixer. You don't always have to run the backfire up through the tree grounds. That's good fire, folks. In the middle of any shitstorm, whether it's personal or at work, stop, take a moment, and tell yourself, this too shall pass. I learned that. Going from AD firefighter to a fire director is akin to going from private to general, or going from a janitor to a CEO. For everything that Dan has done or been for the last 40 years, he's remained relatively unchanged from the time I met him. But there's a couple things that everybody here should know about Dan. One, don't engage in a battle of wits with Dan. You'll probably lose. Try to stay up later than Dan at an important function. You'll probably lose. Don't make fun of his mountain bike with saddlebags and no shocks. He'll outride you and you'll probably lose. And I'm pretty sure everyone here in this room has witnessed his leadership and amazing ability to connect with anybody in any situation. From 1988 to 1996, Dan was my foreman, and I assigned him the responsibility of our safety program. And he wrote a poem every week for that safety program. Impromptu, hilarious, and it kept everyone engaged, hoping they were the subject of interest for that week. And some of you on the crew remember that, right? And those that follow Dan on that Strava social media thing, he does a haiku every Friday, right? So here's my haiku poem for you, Dan. A life of service, putting others before self. It's your time now. So, here's to future adventures without any midday conference calls. Ed Nelson, Ed, did you want to say something?
This is going to be very, very short. Most of you, or some of you know that Dan plays golf. And I've had the pleasure of playing with him several times, watching him play. And I can tell you right now, Dan, you're going to need more than a mountain bike to get to where you hit your golf ball. I wish you and your wife the best of luck in the future. Congratulations.
I thought it reminds me.
Now it's ready to get started. Jim, thank you, Ed, thank you. So my name's Chad Fisher. I have the distinct privilege to kind of wrangle folks for a little bit. Cindy mentioned earlier that we wanted to do fire folks, fire family first. And I'll kind of coordinate that as folks want to come up and speak for 3 minutes or thereabouts. Then I'll turn it over to Mr. Aaron Ludwig here in a few minutes to coordinate the Yosemite Mafia. And then we'll turn it over to, I think, Brother Mike to wrap up the family. And we definitely want to leave time for the family tonight, so that 3 minute will be awesome. However, and I was thinking about this, and I'm not going longer than 3 minutes now.
That's okay.
So our 14-year-old son watches this goofy show called Finding Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Don't worry about this, son. Don't worry about
They're
it.
like, if you've ever had an encounter with Bigfoot, raise your hand. And everybody raises their hand and so forth. So if you've ever had an encounter with the Buckley, raise your hand.
The Buck.
All right, so Finding Bigfoot, they can edit and like keep it all within an hour. We don't have that option, so let's be sure to leave the family some time for it. With that being said, fire family, who's up? Who wants to go first?
Cindy, great job on logistics. We know what that means. And I had a box for the Buckley family, Dan specifically, but she said, and I didn't just relate it, there's no gifts. So I did get some for Jim Cook, and when I finish my short thing about Dan, who never lost a school that I saw. Ed Nelson never lost their clues that I saw. You know, in the fire biz, that's pretty important. That stay even. That was outstanding leadership. But then, maybe not tonight, but later on, and I wish I had remembered the right index card with my notes. There's two things that Dan can expand upon that are unique. One is catch and release. And this responds directly to fire and not other aspects of recreational relationships. Dan was a past master of catch and release. And the other thing is the dead granny factor with smoke management fire. And Dan, so far, the smoke program has not been tied directly to the inordinate number of deaths from fire smoke. But that was the key determinant for how much smoke could be left out under control. With that, Dan, you've earned a long and peaceful retirement. Thank you for leaving.
Who would like to go next? JP, it looks like
Woo!
You ready? Okay, I'm JP Mattingly. I worked with Dan for a couple of years on Arrowhead in '86 and '87. I actually inherited him. He was a squad boss. I came in as Jim's foreman and somehow survived. Dan, though, I really want to commend you on 47 years of dedicated, service to the business, and I really
really appreciate you and Cindy. And the other thing that is important for me to acknowledge is that Dan was the official that married me and my wife 9 months ago out in Omaha. These folks hold a special place in my heart, and I wish them tremendous luck. And make sure you bring your golf clubs. Who's gonna win?
So you're saying JP's gonna carry you? Okay. That's all right. Sure.
Hey, yeah, you gotta have a good way from the Dunlap boys, man. Hi, everybody. I'm Dirk Turley, and I came here to do tribute to a great guy, good friend, and all the Arrowheads, all of us, what a team, what a team. And Dan, I want to wish you all the best. You'll find that retirement ain't too bad. Ain't too bad, Dan. I don't expect to see you out there in the fire line or doing the agency administrator stuff, right? But I remember it was saying like best memories and some of the fun times. It's when we used to play basketball over there at Dunlap Elementary School, volleyball, and those are some good times, Dan, because I had a match up against you for point guards and running guard. You had high energy, Dan, but that was something that for me, I love the competition and all the fire experiences that we've had throughout the years. Appreciate a good, solid leader like that, but it's his humor and his style that I'll always remember, and my friends, I know that you'll always do that too. But Dan, I wish you a very beautiful and a happy retirement, and all the best. If our paths cross again, that's a great time. Okay, we look forward to that. Again, I think about how my dad used to talk about you. Dad, Benjamin Charlie Sr. And he knew that you were a great leader, and I think we were that upcoming generation that he invested in. And Dan, you had all of that, and you were a good guy, and Pop really admired you in a good way, as I do, and as many of your friends. So thanks for the opportunity to say some good words for our good pal, Daddy, and I wish you all the best, Dad.
Here representing Pacific West region of the National Park Service. We have two things for Dan. Dan, of course, spent the lion's share of his career working in various different places in the Pacific West region, and we have a lot of previous leadership in the room for the Pacific West region wildfire management program from many, many years. And Dan worked in a bunch of different places, not just on the Arrowhead Hotshots, but in places like Point Reyes, and of course Yosemite, and Craters of the Moon, where he was the park superintendent, which is also in the Pacific West region, even though it's in Idaho, and a lot of people don't always recognize that. And it's been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to have had time with Dan. I first got to meet Dan and get to know Dan when I was actually working at Grand Canyon National Park, and got to go do a program review at Yellowstone and spend some time with Dan, and it was awesome to get to know him. And then to get the last few years with Dan while he was working in Yosemite was just fantastic. So Dan, we have a few things for you, and we'll bring them to you. You don't have to come to us. But first off is a plaque. This is something we started doing for our fire management staff that had worked in the region for more than 10 years just recently here. And rather than me read through everything that says on the plaque, I'll bring it to Dan, and if he wants to put it on display, folks can check it out. But essentially it starts with 47 years of service
yada, 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 and a whole bunch of stuff. So, Buck, thank you so much for all your mentorship, all your peer support, and all the things that you've done in the Pacific West region throughout your career. And Goss has got something else for you here. I'm going to pass the mic.
So I was thinking about a couple of things and how am I better than Dan Buckley, and I was struggling to come up with anything. But then I started thinking I got something on Dan. So hotshot superintendent tenure, because I'm a 5-year hotshot superintendent, and I know looking at some other hotshot soups in this room that there is a lot more than that. But Dan, how many years were you a hotshot superintendent?
Total about 2.5.
Yes. See, right there. That was the only thing I could come up with where I had better than Dan. There are some blue shirts in the audience tonight. The 2060 Club, which is a lot of pull-ups and a lot of sit-ups and a lot of push-ups and a really fast run up at 6,000 feet elevation there. And when I was the hotshot superintendent there at Arrowhead, I tried my best to get onto the 2060 Club. Never got there, but Dan was on that plaque there that's sitting up there 3 times. So that just kind of goes back to show you what kind of gentleman he was and how serious he took that leadership role. And even as working for Mr. Cook for a very long time there on Arrowhead there. So all that to say, I didn't come up with anywhere else I was better than Dan Buckley, but that's okay. There's also something I did not inherit. So the hotshot superintendents at Arrowhead, those guys could drink. Those guys could drink for a long time and way deep into the early morning hours. And that is true for Mr. Cook, and that is true for Mr. Buckley. Bert Rosso's not here tonight, unfortunately. Man, wish I was there, but he's not. But those guys, and they all wear short sleeve shirts when it's 32 degrees outside too, by the way, for some reason. But the Arrowhead reunion, the 30th Arrowhead reunion, was at Kelly's Beach in Wheatley. And I was part of the planning committee there. I was the current soup at the time. And I knew it was, all 3 of those guys were there. I knew at some point that they were going to be drinking in as you know, it's early risers, sun's coming up, and so I was hiding. I was doing my best to hide from those 3 guys. And I could hear them calling my name from down on the sandbar. They're like, "Goss, get up! Goss, where are you?" And I hid in my truck, and I actually passed out underneath my truck at about 3:30 in the morning, and those guys kept going until the sun came up. So, Dan, I don't know if you could still pull that off, but you probably could, and then go for a 14-mile run.
September 20th.
Right on. Okay, well, my 3 months is up. My 3 months is up. My 3 minutes is up. But I do have something serious to say, and so I've got also a plaque, and this is from South Ops. It's a beautiful shadow box there. It's got some really cool stuff. I do want to read it real quick. It says, "Dan, thank you for your many years of service and partnership. Your legacy lives in the relationships you built and the knowledge you've shared. Congrats on your well-deserved retirement there." So again, from South Ops there, Dan, congratulations.
Huge congratulations, Cindy and Dan, your family. Huge thank you. Job well done here, top notch. So I had the pleasure and honor of working for Buck for about 4 years when he was the fuels manager in Yosemite, and then did detail under Buck when he was the superintendent of Arrowhead. Most amazing assignment. So Buck and I had the pleasure of attending a contractor's officer's representative training at a casino. CORs, you know how exciting that job is in refresher, so 40-hour refresher. Dan convinced me to go down to the craps table, so we went down and with the coaching from some of the locals there, went on a run, a good run, like an all-night run. Lots of dollars in our pockets and drinks in our bellies, and literally all night, as I recall. And the only thing I remember is waking up the next morning and pounding on the door. "Hey, you guys have a final you have to take for this game." But the first time I met Buck, very first time, was on it started out as a P&F. Those of you that remember lightning fires that were managed for multiple, including resource benefit objectives on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. Maximum management area, very small and tight, escaped, of course. Joy Zimmer couldn't make it here tonight, and I were FEMOs. And the fire escaped its MMA and got converted to a wildfire, and we got converted to being fallers. And we heard that there was a party over in the Arrowhead camp, so of course we had to go check it out and show up. And there's a guy on a picnic table in skivvies with watermelon on his head. Sorry, you can't hold it against me. No, Dan, honestly, it's been a huge honor and a pleasure to know you. I've learned so much. I've been a mentor. On behalf of Jeff Vincent, who couldn't make it here tonight, because as a side note, his daughter's like 10th in the nation as a ski racer. He couldn't make it to this, but he extends his regards, Dan. And we came up with a saying in Yosemite, when things got tough, whether it was operational, planning, smoke, put the smoke. Well, the strategy was always to put smoke over to the Eastern Sierra where I work now. What would Buck do? And so what would Buck do? Well, he's retiring, so we can all only aspire to be like Buck and do what Buck does for
Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you. I don't know what category I fit in. I work on fire now, but that has only been for about 25 years. But and I'm kind of family, but kind of not. But anyway, I did not work with Dan. My brother Roger worked with Dan on Arrowhead Hotshots, and he was really enamored with working with Arrowhead Hotshots because he wanted to learn how to bring down big trees. That was his thing. And thank you, Dan and Jim Cook, for bringing my brother into Arrowhead Hotshots. So I had just a couple of notes because my mind strays and I got to stay on task, right? And I want to tell you about the fact that Dan's character is really incredible. But when we look at the Buckley family, all of these siblings, brothers and sisters, are all incredible. And look at what they do and what they contribute to the Buckley family. But I didn't realize it until this morning that Dan was born in Lompoc, California, when his dad was at Camp Cook in the U.S. Army. Okay? And if you look at all these siblings that Dan has, they've been born all over the place, including Germany, because they were military brats. Their father was in the U.S. Army and fought in World War II and fought across Europe in Patton's army all the way to Bastogne to the Battle of the Bulge. So don't you think this Buckley family was raised by people of the greatest generation who fought World War II. And they are here with us tonight to celebrate Buck's retirement. Really incredible. Now, if you look at the hats that Buck has worn, and a lot of you have talked about Fire Chief, FMO, husband, father, brother. He's been incredible. He's worn a number of hats, but in reality, he's worn a hat that you probably don't know about, but I do, because he is one incredible guy that looks out after all of the wildland firefighters that have lost their lives on duty, and he honors them, he remembers them, he supports their families, and he has been absolutely incredible in this act. And my brother told me, Jim, I work with some of the best people in the world. And it wasn't until my brother got killed on the South Canyon fire on Storm King Mountain that I found out about these best people in the world. And a lot of them are here in the room tonight, but particularly Dan Buckley. Over the 30 years since I lost my brother, he would have been 30 years old that year. He would be 60 years old this year. And I wish he could be here tonight to see this celebration that we have for Dan Buckley, one of his closest friends. But Dan has been there for me and my family and my mom and dad. He has every year been the ringleader for the Lucky Peak Challenge that we do with Chad and a number of other firefighters, climbing Lucky Peak in Boise. And when we get to the top, we pass around the flask, pass around the booze, and we remember all wildland firefighters that have fallen, have passed away. And then we come back, usually at Chad's house, where we have a barbecue and we raise money for the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. And it's because of Buck's hard work every year and Chad's work that has made that so successful for the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. But it goes beyond that. Dan has showed up for weddings, funerals, supporting other wildland firefighters that have passed away. And one of the things that he does every year when we go to the South Canyon Memorial Trail west of Glenwood Springs on July 6th, he's there. He's there to help me get my mom and dad. Remember, Buck, about 5 years ago, we got my mom and dad up the trail in their 80s and back down. And we did it. And that's the thing that Buck does for countless people that have lost their lives, but they still look after brothers and sisters, moms and dads and family members. And I'm here tonight to thank Dan Buckley, because although I lost my kid brother in 1994, 30 years ago, I got a new brother. I've got Dan Buckley. Raise a glass and toast to Brother Buck.
I'm here, Bill Cogney, and I was thinking about it. I've worked with Dan 3 times. I've hired him twice, I can remember. And good on you. And I think it dovetails really well with what Jim just said. I think I hired him twice because of his integrity, his honesty, telling you things that maybe you don't want to hear, but you know, and you need to hear anyway. And then, most importantly, a sense of fun. And it sounds real trivial, but like L.D. Clark said, in tough times, you need to have a sense of humor about what you're dealing with. And tomorrow will be another day. And Buckley always brought that to the table, that wisdom, but at the same time, a kindness and sense of humor to what he did. And congratulations to you, Dan. Congratulations to you, Cindy, for a new phase of life. I do recommend wholeheartedly retirement. I love it. Thanks much for all you've done over the years. Really, really appreciate it.
Back here, do I see somebody? Oh,
No, I wasn't planning on saying anything, because the last Arrowhead Hotshot retirement party I went to was this guy over here, and the toast went for about 4 hours. No 3-minute ones. But I'm grateful for the opportunity, because Dan Buckley's been an important person for me in my career, and having the opportunity to work with him in a variety of places here. Dan was working for us in the Pacific West region. He went to NIFC, and it was like, finally we have somebody there. And I've heard several people say it tonight. He was the guy always that answered the phone and was the person that listened to you. And if he didn't have an answer for you, he would find it. And it was really appreciated by us in the region office. I think about Dan too, you know, in this era of wildland fire, it seems that there's very few people that make it much past 50 years old, right? And decide to move on to something else. Dan went to 57, took another job, that amazing step of coming out of the ranks of wildland fires, becoming the superintendent. Then he came back to us, to the region, to the national office, and then he came back to us in Yosemite, and that sort of, that resilience and that dedication for the things that we do is a pretty remarkable thing. I have this this personal memory. Of course, we remember when Brian was killed, and in the midst of a busy fire season, Mike Minden and I were out on the car fire, a lot going on there, and we get that call, and I start driving to get to the crew, and I show up. Crew's coming, and who do I see standing in the parking lot? And it's Dan. And several people mentioned Bill, including, you know, it was a powerful and difficult time. And Dan Buckley, there in the parking lot, greeting the family members with the ability to laugh, to have this sort of empathy that is rare, that I was incapable of at the time. It was remarkable. But the last thing I'll share, I remember, I don't remember what season it was, but it's typical Yosemite deal. All kinds of fires going on. Dan's the FMO at that time. I'm the chief of the region. I drive down to Yosemite to see what's going on. The guys were out, Buddy, and us, managing fires. But they found a fire that day, new start. And Dan's like, let's go check out this fire. So Dan, to me, is someone I look up to. I have expectations that we're gonna go drive to this fire. We drive out, get out of the truck, get our gear on. I'm like, do you know where the fire is? Yeah, I think I know. Do you have like coordinates to this thing? No. Do you have a map? No, but I think I can find it. So then it's two old dudes stumbling around for hours trying to find this fire. And of course we come back to Yosemite Valley defeated. Guys. We found out where the fire wasn't. But again, my great honor to have known and worked with Dan for years, and this whole life of retirement, I'm sure you're not going to cry. Congratulations.
Shelby. Shelby. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Well, that was one of it, Buck, but, my retirement party, Buckley, he kind of roasted me pretty good, on young hotshot, growing up days, and one of the stories of Buckley, back then boots, white boots were $150, $175, something like that. That was a lot of money back then. I don't know what they are nowadays, probably a lot more than that, I take it, right? But anyway, I just bought a good pair of boots. Me and Buckley were song partners, and man, it was, I forget what fire it was, man, but Cook, man, that guy was always like, let's go, First one's out, last one's in, and Johnny Mac just told me a story about the Sky Party in Nevada, man, where, man, we were, don't you gap, don't you fall out, and we did. We got all the way up there. We couldn't go to work. We were wasted. My song partner at that time was Johnny Mac, and then I couldn't carry that song anymore, so I passed it off to him. And same thing with Buckley. The guy was phenomenal in shape, man, but our pace went real high, and whew, man, we got to pass it off, because when we get there, we got to work, right? Anyway, we had a good hump going up there when we were working. I was swamped for Buckley, and I kept telling Buckley, hey, this, communication, we tap each other and everything, Well, I just stepped over a log, and he didn't answer me. He was like looking around, and he came right down and just touched my boot, man. Pulled my socks up through my brand new white boots. And then I took it off. There was no blood, no nothing. I said, oh my gosh. And that was just one of the many times that we had a good time, but I did tell Cindy, that I'm going to take it easy, because that's the kind of, I'll wait till September 30th or September when we go up there, but anyway, but congratulations to you, and I appreciate everything you've done, man.
It's not that good. It's really not. But I would like to share with you an ode to the Buckaroo, part 2. For those of you who know poems, were a common feature when Buck spoke. Now he writes Friday haikus that are no joke. In 2012, I wrote an ode to the Buckaroo as he left Boise and went to the moon. I didn't know he'd come back so soon. Now, we've all heard the stories about the Buckaroo, like when he chased a bear in his underwear. There was a bear, but no underwear. Trips up like Pete are more sober than stumble down, for at the top drinks we do share. Falling and hitting your head gave me quite the scare. When walking on wet concrete, please beware. In singing in San Antonio, your poem was a bit slurred. You look sharp in your infamous tuxedo, although from the pre-funk martinis, you should have demurred. My first meeting with you in it, I thought you were asleep. Legs crossed, head down, fingers pinching the bridge of your nose. All together now, strike the Buckley pose. Back from the moon you came. The challenges were constant, the stupidity the same. Data call after data call rolled in from DC. You gave each one your best, everyone could see. Especially the one where you were asked, tell us quick, on Park Service lands, how many trees? I just gotta stop, that's no shit. There was a certain administration that wanted to know how many trees were on the Park Service lands, and Buck walked by and like, 5,432,324,226. Well, that's probably, no, we gotta actually give him a number. I think I was $1 billion off. Just remember that when you go vote. Just so any arguments? Back to the poem, sorry. Many days were somber, there's no way to forget. You led us through calmly, the example you set. The time came when a park needed your chops. Who knew all it took was a house the size of a Cracker Jack box? To Yosemite you sped with your new bride you had wed to manage fire on the land. I'm sure it was grand. Now you've retired, it's time to have fun. Ride a new bike, find mountains to climb. Above all else, remember your quote sublime. We're not here for a long time, we're just here for a good time.
I was 14 years older than Dan when he was born in Lompoc, California.
You still are.
Thank you very much. So, I left home when I was 17, so I didn't see Dan for many years. And my first recollection is when he became a hotshot, Arrowhead hotshot crew member. And he brought home a hat for me to wear, which I wore for like 20 years till it fell apart. But he was amazing. He would take my brothers and me cross-country skiing in Sequoia Park and camp out at one of the fire lookouts, which was incredible. I don't know if you've ever been in a fire lookout. I imagine some of you have. But he's an amazing brother, and he's really a big part of our family. He and my other two brothers frequently go on golf outings for several days in Arizona or Pebble Beach or some other fantastic place. But he's a stalwart member of our family, and we love him, and we're proud of him for all the work and service that he's committed to the fire community. And we thank all of you guys for keeping him healthy and alive so he could retire. So I would like to invite up some of his siblings for their 3 minutes, because I think I've surpassed mine. But Buzz, Chuck, Doug, brother-in-law Doug.
Join me, but before I start, I just want to let you know that Danny is half Irish. And in honor of that, I managed to butcher Irish song in Danny's honor. But before I do that, I want to say that in his retirement, the thing that's going to make his retirement so successful is Cindy. He and Cindy she's going to make his retirement fabulous. So, in honor of Danny, I have butchered this song. Oh, Danny boy, the fires were calling. You served up close and from so far away. Your job is done, and now you are retiring. It's time for you to rest along the way. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed with snow. We'll all be here in sunshine
or in shadow. Old Danny boy, old Danny boy, we love you so. But when you come and all the parks are flourishing, the trees will stand as tall as they may be. You'll come and find the places you were saving. And you know you did it all for we.
Oh.
And we shall hear those soft the breezes blowing, that all are safe and stronger due to thee. The leaves and boughs on the trees are growing, and forests thrive due to the work of thee.
I'm not a good extemporaneous speaker, so I am this. I'm Dan's older brother, Buzz. But a tidbit of information, of the 8 siblings, only 2 of us were born in California, even though our family lived the majority of our life in California. I was born in Southern Cal, but Dan was born in Lompoc, or as Deputy Fields would say, in Lompoc. But another tidbit, Dan was indirectly responsible for my marriage in the early 70s. He worked with the Arrowhead Hot Shots in Sequoia. He called me to say a store managerial position was open at Lodgepole Market. And intrigued and bored with my 7-Eleven store, where Dan once worked, by the way, I applied, job secured. My staff included 2 women and 3 men. One of the women eventually became my wife. But just to clarify, I didn't date her while I was her boss.
Right.
Right.
Remember Ruby? Dan, over the years, we've backpacked, run marathons, golfed, and partied, of course. Yet we haven't traveled much due to your fire schedule. Yes, there was the 50th anniversary trip to Normandy. Remember Notre Dame then? But not much since. With your retirement and Cindy's, hopefully both of you will be able to join some of your siblings on our annual excursions. We look forward to you joining us. Happy retirement, Dan. Okay, just to be honest with you. As you've begun to retire, don't let it grow your spare tire. Instead of that rocking chair, go outside and enjoy some fresh air. Next time you want to turn on the TV, remember, there's still a world to see. Next time you lazily get into the car, remember, there's a job or biking somewhere. As you ease into your golden years, remember those who've held you dear. Don't fade away, just don't stay away. Keep us in mind and in touch. We'd like to hear from you so much. Dan.
Well, Dan, first of all, your Uncle Bob and Aunt Madeline send their love and they wish they could have been here. They're very proud of you and they wish you all the best. I've always been very proud to talk about my cousin Dan to my friends whenever there were conversations about the national parks and the forest lands. I was always proud to bring up that my cousin Dan takes care of those places. And I really appreciate it. And I want to say that every year my family travels to Yosemite on an annual trip. We've been doing it for 30 years. And seen a lot of changes in Yosemite, as all of you have, and have been a part of. But I gotta say, since Dan came back to Yosemite, and since 2020, I've really noticed a difference in the park. It really looks good. This year we came in, we go there in February, and when we drove in this year, we looked around as we were driving in, and the forest, I thought, looked phenomenal. And my wife and I said, this is Dan's work. You know, and I was so proud. So Danny, thank you for your hard work. I really appreciate it. We really enjoy it, what you've done. And thank you to all of you fire people for your hard work. As a member of the general public, I really want to say we appreciate all the hard work you do. I know it's dangerous, it's backbreaking work, but it's necessary, and we're so glad you're out there doing it or have done it. So anyway, Danny, congratulations. Anybody else? Tony.
Hello, I'm Maureen. I'm Dan's sister, just a little bit older than him. I'm the
I'm
youngest
just
daughter.
trying to do my
I'm a family
job.
of 8. Dan, my brother, is retired now. He should stand up and take a bow. For his service and sacrifice for our country and land, the dangers and difficulties only he can understand. Dan has 4 brothers he holds close and dear, but one more thing is very clear. He has many, many, many more. Brothers, and each of you, members of the forestry and firefighting crew. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Now that he's hung up his uniform, hat, and boots, it's time for he and Cindy to plant some new roots. Travel, adventure, and rest is the plan. We wish him the best, our friend, husband, father, and brother Dan. Happy retirement, and raise your glasses for the good times ahead.
Alright, I guess I get to be the youngest Buckley here, right? So Dan is my uncle. There's a lot of people in the room that probably don't know me personally, but I know you. When I was young, every single, probably winter, right? Dan would come home and he would put on a slide projector show of Arrowhead Hot Shot, what he did throughout the summer. And when I was looking around, I was like, most people probably wouldn't know what a slide projector was, but we all, like as young kids, like look forward to that every year. We thought there was this big, gigantic adventure, and like I aspired to be an Arrowhead Hot Shot, and Dan told me no. But there was one guy in the room here, and I don't see him right now, but he gave me 2 months the shot to be able to participate in that. But I ended up in a different agency, and those slide projector shows, Dan, were like one of the greatest things that, you know, for a young kid, like every single year, he would take these incredible pictures of his whole summer, and then every year we gotta like capture those moments. And for a young kid, it seems like, hey, no big deal, like good fun. But then getting into the same kind of career as him and understanding that those pictures were a part of it, but it was way more than that. And his daughters are here, Sierra and Savannah. And I want to personally thank you for all your years of service, because years of service, for most people probably don't understand what years of service is. That's being away from your family for months at a time, all the sacrifices you've made. But there's a whole bunch of people that are proud of you for what you did over all those years. And although I didn't become an Arrowhead hotshot, I got a little taste. And I remember a long time ago, with the agency I was in, we had a fire next to the park. We put it out. Dan had mentioned some things about 1,000 miles of dozer line, and I actually felt bad. So Dan, throughout the years, had kind of ingrained a lot of good things in me, as far as like, what we were doing and what we were doing in the environment. And I actually felt bad. And I was like, man, this guy made a very good impression of me throughout my career. And I'm so happy that you actually get to retire now, because I don't know how you've done it for 47 years. Like, honestly, like, to go that many years, that many, like, hours away from home, the stress, that's an incredible feat. And I think everybody in here that's, here to support you probably understands how incredible that feat is. But we're so happy that you finally get to retire. We're happy for Sierra and Savannah that actually get to have their dad around. And Sydney, who also equally has spent her life doing the same thing. Like, we're so happy for you guys that you guys actually get to have a life now. So congratulations, happy retirement, and long live Sydney.
And I don't know what influenced me to get into this career. But maybe it was having a dad who would take me to work to Yosemite as a kid, or it was the magic of bringing home excess fire meal snacks. It's pretty cool to have a dad sponsored by Gatorade and Planters Trail Mix. And all jokes aside, yeah, you have showed up for us in a considerable amount of ways, and a lot of that is credited to how you showed up for us as kids. When you weren't participating in, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm quoting you, stupid things for stupid people for stupid reasons. You were home. You were taking us on backpacking trips, bike rides. You were showing us how to appreciate the outdoors. You were coaching our soccer teams. You showing up to important life events. And yeah, making Sierra wash the windows when she pierced her nose and not disciplining me. Thank you for staying. After 47 years of tough grinding and 32 years and beyond of being a big rocking daddy, he gave himself that title. We did not. He chose that title for himself. I'd like to say thank you for showing us the values of hard work and always supporting us on our endeavors and being my number one hero. Yeah, you've earned this retirement 1,000%, and I cannot wait to see you soar in this next chapter of life. So, cheers, Dad.
Cheers.
But so were memories of my dad singing silly songs, like a potty song to the tune of Beach Boys, or his creative culinary endeavors, and also lots of hiking with Dad. And to be in y'all's line of work, you have to have a sense of adventure. That's pretty clear. And let me tell you, that meant as like a little kid, me and my siblings falling multiple times for Dad's promise of a short little hike. And 10 miles, sundown, like 10 miles later, after being maybe stalked by a mountain lion. We were also chased by a herd of llamas one time on our hike. We finally make it back to the car. But what do you expect from someone who finds the time outside of their physically demanding career to run like 20 plus marathons? But of course, I like unspeakably grateful for growing up, doing all that hiking, and being in some of the most beautiful places in the world. And my dad has inspired me in so many ways. He's my first role model for having an intentional relationship with the environment. He also has a way with words. He paid his way through school getting a journalism degree, and he paid his way through school fighting fire. So we know, of course, the rest is history. But so to honor how my dad's inspired me around nature and the written word, and of course, nod to the haikus. I have a short little haiku for us. Now the torch passes. Fire's dedicated student, forever a friend of the forest. Dad, thank you for how you've shaped my life and the lives of everybody here. Your career has truly been inspiring, and I'm so grateful and proud to be your daughter. I'm so excited for what's in store. I know you and Cindy will be adventuring till you're 105, so congrats, Dad. Cheers to you.
And I want to thank all of you firefighters and people in the fire for keeping us all safe and your hard work. It means a lot to all of us. This is just a little point. 47 years. The fire is out, let the ashes settle. 47 years of grit and metal. Beginning with the hotshot crew, ending in Yosemite with a beautiful view. Serving well in Boise, Idaho, then off to many national parks you did go. A stint in Africa was an adventure and fun. Your guidance and knowledge got the job done. You are fortunate to have a job you loved. You worked with care and it fit you like a glove. We are so proud of you, your many accomplishments. You are an inspiration of hard work and commitment. The fire is out, pick up your axe, go and enjoy your retirement and relax. Congratulations, Dan, we love you. Dan, sit here.
Like all of them.
This is very short. Dan, I love you. I've drunk to your health in taverns. I've drunk to your health at home. I've drunk to your health so damn much, I think I've ruined my own.
I just want to thank you all for coming and helping to celebrate my little brother Dan's retirement.
Little brother.
And we wish him and Cindy a long and healthy, happy life.